right? We have our sincerity, and we have the reasonable man. Certainty and sincerity, reasonable man. Here is certainty, John. Okay, you give me one shot. You give me one shot. That's sincerity. You give me one shot here, John, and believe me. And then you go down to sincerity and believe me. The only problem you'll have is that you didn't buy more. Sound fair enough? Reasonable man. Sound fair enough? Reasonable man. What I noticed this week, I had this person that was selling some stuff here, right? And novice, and I purposely didn't want to train the guy in the straight line. I learned something very important this week. Because you guys are studying the straight line. I didn't want to straight line you on certification. Like I don't want anybody to say, I'm launching the certification program, straight line certification, right? It's the best program I've ever created. I don't want to sell anybody certification. If either you want it or you don't. I don't need to sell it to you, okay? It's not so I don't. So I said to the guy, listen, I don't want you to use a straight line for this. Just because I just don't. And then I watched what happened without the straight line, how the conversations went off the fucking Pluto. All right, and I realized it's not even you can't not have the straight line in any conversation because it just doesn't work. There's a straight line used elegantly with pressure. What I meant is I don't want you to use it with pressure. I want you to use it to explain what's going on. So I watched it happen without that. I was like fucking appalling. Okay, did you see it go all over the place? And one thing I noticed was that it was all these open-ended statements, what this guy would make, without transitioning into a close, without saying, and just believe me. The only problem you'll have, or you'll be very, very impressed. Sound fair enough? You're always closing. You're always closing with these three tonalities. You never want to close like, John, you give me one shot and believe me, you'll be very, very impressed. Does that sound good? They'll be like, what the fuck? I don't really know. I mean, just let me think about it. Versus, you give me one shot and believe me. You're going to be very glad you did. Sound fair enough? Sound fair enough? That's the reasonable man tone. Okay? Next tone. We have our tonality of scarcity. Okay? And by the way, I'm going to do this training again when we go on the new platform, and we'll have the ability to have one of you or two of you on this video as well, and I'll be interacting. I'll be training you for the whole group. So that's the next level of tonality. We'll come back to it in a couple of months, right? When everyone's on the new platform, right? Scarcity. Scarcity, basically, when people want more of what they perceive there to be less of. Human nature. We live in a scarcity mentality, right? So you create scarcity is lowering your voice. Now, John, the reason for the call today, informational scarcity. John, reason for the call, John. Here's the deal. Lower the voice. It's not a whisper. It's whisper with a bit of John, reason for the call. So it's not, John, reason for the call. That's a whisper. This is a power. I call it a power. And make sure you get this. It's called a power whisper. It's a whisper with a bit of oomph in there. Like, John, reason for the call. You see the energy? You see, like, it's like, I'm not like, John, reason for the call. It's not like I'm losing my power. I'm keeping my power. And I'm even have some enthusiasm. Like, there's enthusiasm embedded in my scarcity. I'm like, John, reason for the call today. Something just came across. So there's a bit of excitement, but you'll lower your voice, and that's the tonality of scarcity. Okay? And remember, there's three types. You have the words is called verbal scarcity, right? John, this is in very short supply. That's verbal, like the words. John, this is in very short supply. Or total scarcity, add on to it. John, this is in very short supply. You add the tonality of scarcity onto the words. And then you have informational scarcity, which is, John, this is in very short supply, and no one even knows it yet. Even the information is scarce. Those are your three levels of scarcity, okay? Next, you have the tonality of, I really want to know. That's just basically what I call it. I really want to know, right? So I said to you, John, how you doing today? Not, how you doing today? So I said to you, how you doing today? You're like, you know that I know that you know that I don't give a shit how you're doing today, and you don't care how I'm doing. It's a perfunctory greeting I give just to be polite because my mommy told me to do that. Versus, how you doing today? And they're like, well, that's not how I usually get. They're like, okay. And that comes on the heels of what? phrasing your declarative as a question. Hey, John, Jordan Belfort, calling from XYZ Company in LA. How you doing today? They're like, okay, what the fuck's going on? And you own them. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean that you're going to hurt them, you're going to help them. But you're in your magnetic zone. And when you're in person, you look good, you make that good handshake, the right eye contact. They're like, oh, this guy, it's not your average bear. And you open up the possibility for influence. In other words, without this, what happens? The person, they shut down. They try to take control of the conversation. And once that happens, guess what? You can't run any patterns. You're reacting. You're not being proactive. You're being reactive. The only way you can use the straight line is to be proactive. You take control of the sale, and you use that control to start asking questions. But we take control through these tonalities. And by taking control of their unconscious monologue, stopping it from narrating against you, make it narrate for you, and get them hanging on your every word, and use that to do the right thing by people. Not to fuck them over, but to help them get the things they need. It's like my dad. He went through his life because he's such a high action threshold, blocked from making decisions he should be making, from buying things he really needed. And a great salesman, someone like myself, I could break through that and help him get something he needs. That's a very noble thing to do. So it's honest, it's ethical. That's what I want you to do here, okay? So we have the number 7. I care. Meaning, John, just tell me, what's your greatest fear? Your tonality of sincerity. Tell me, John, what's your biggest fear right now? Like, I care. I feel your pain. Also cool, so I care. I feel your pain. That's essentially your Bill Clinton tonality. I kid around with that. I say, Bill Clinton was the best. Bill Clinton had this way of body language and tonality that in that moment, when you're in his magnetic zone, it's like you say, wow, he cares. Crucial, right? Next, so 7, right? Let's go to 8. Okay, it's our hypothetical or money aside tonality. Hypothetical money aside. Meaning when you say, now, John, let me ask you a question. Does the idea make sense to you? Do you like the idea? Like, money aside, but without saying those words, money aside. This is used all over the place, but most importantly of all, we use this when we conduct our deflecting pattern. So I hear what you're saying, John, but let me ask you a question. Does the idea make sense to you? Do you like the idea? That's my hypothetical money aside tonality. Okay? Next, we have our presupposing tone, which I went through already, right? Presupposing. And that was that all-important tone that I started with, and I want you to start using. I neglect it. And then let me make sure here, the last one. Hold on 1 second. See if I forget. Certainty, service, yes, let's keep going. And then lastly, mystery and intrigue. Mystery and intrigue is that when you say to someone, and by the way, I used it as an example at the beginning, the reason for the call. And so it's a little different than scarcity. Is more like when you lower your voice, like, John, now, right now. So there's only, we only have X number of these to go. All right, there's only 5 days to go. That's scarcity versus mystery and intrigue is like, John, the reason for the call. That's when you have that, that reason. You're hanging with that R. You're rolling the reason for the call. It's a mystery. You're creating intrigue. And what it does, it makes them press the phone closer. They just want to know. It's like not quite scarcity. The reason, so I sort of divide between scarcity, urgency, right? So scarcity is about urgency. Mystery and intrigue is about keeping them interested, hanging on your every word, okay? And we use these 10 tonalities not just to keep them interested as we talk. Remember, in the beginning especially, it's about capturing their attention, taking control of their unconscious monologue, stopping it from narrating against you and get it to narrate for you. When you can do that, Okay, it's easy to do. When you do that, you'll notice that everything else becomes easy because they stop saying, "Oh fuck, what's this? Who's this?" They stop acting like assholes and start treating you with the respect you deserve. That's the key. And with that now, let's open up to our questions and let's rock and roll.
So from Adam, for a team call system, you would open the appointment conversation the same way as a phone call?
No, if you read the book